Okay, so we'll start pharmacology. So we're going to start with the Pharm book, that pharmacology and the nursing process. First chapter 4, know the 4 clinical phases of investigational drug studies. That is literally on page 55. And so phase 1 is the small number of healthy subjects. So it's just healthy subjects, has nobody that has the disease that it's being treated for. They're looking for dose range, the pharmacokinetics, and if any other testing is needed. Phase 2 is a small number of people who have the disease the drug is trying to treat, and kind of look at effectiveness and adverse effects. Further refining the doses. Phase 3 is a large number of patients who are followed by big samples. That's where you're going to do the placebo. So you might have blind or double blind studies so that even the investigators don't know who is taking what. And then phase 4 is post-marketing. So phase 4 occurs after the drug has been approved by the FDA and is put on the market. They still do the monitoring for any potential actions. And this is where you get the black box warnings coming in. Hi, Hayes. So, and then there's the different levels of black box warning. Class 1 is the most serious. So a reasonable probability of a serious adverse event or death. 2 is a little bit less severe, probably medically reversible, and 3 is not really likely to cause significant issues. So, Hayes, I know you just came in. We just started on the first point in chapter 4, and the answer can be found on page 55. And I started recording, so if you need to, you can go back. So, and then ethical principle terms. Make sure you guys, and I know I've already talked about these in fundamentals a little bit too, and we're actually going to talk some more next week about this. So autonomy, self-determination, being able to act on your own. All these actually can be found on page 57. And you will look at, it's the blue box there on page 57, teamwork and collaboration, legal and ethical principles. So autonomy, self-determination, the ability to act on your own. Beneficence, ethical principle of doing or actively promoting good. Confidentiality, you guys kind of have an idea about that. Respecting privileged information. Justice, being fair or equal. So if you're being just, you're going to treat patients all the same. You're going to treat them equally. You're not going to treat a patient any differently based on anything, gender, race, color, creed, sexual orientation. So if you're being just, that's what you're doing. Non-malfeasance, the duty to do no harm. Think of that as, if you've ever heard first, do no harm. That's what non-malfeasance is. And then veracity is basically the duty to tell the truth. You have to tell the truth. Don't lie to your patients. So, and again, that's page 57 in that little blue box, the teamwork and collaboration. Okay. Chapter 7, I literally, this is cool when you open up to the exactly where you want to go. Chapter 7, patient teaching regarding over-the-counter. That actually starts on page 93. So provide verbal and written information about how to choose appropriate over-the-counter herbal supplements. Many patients believe that there's no risk because it's herbal and it's quote unquote natural. So make sure you let them know that just because it is natural doesn't mean it's safe. There are a lot of things out there in our world that are dangerous and can cause death. Try to provide instruction on how to read over-the-counter labels and directions. Make sure they're reading ingredients of more than one product. So a multivitamin might have ginseng, or Tylenol might have something else, like cold and flu products, or even Aleve. I know a lot of the over-counter cold medications have not just like pseudoephedrine, but they also have guaifenesin and dextromethorphan and acetaminophen. So make sure they're looking at all of the medications. Emphasize how important it is that they take any over-the-counter or supplements with caution, and that there can be interactions. Instruct the patient that they need to tell their healthcare providers about any over-the-counter or herbal medications they take. Encourage them to journal. So if they're taking, say, glucosamine, they would record when they take it and any improvement in symptoms with the use of the medication, over-the-counter, herbal, or whatever. Because if it's not, then if they go back to the journal, you can be like, well, it didn't do you any good. Why are you taking it? Encourage appropriate and resources and authoritative resources. So the pharmacist, literature from the drug company, and reliable websites, drugs.com, WebMD they give, which that's kind of a site. But those places where patient, kind of direct your patient to a good place to look for information. Instruct the patient that all medications must be kept out of reach of children and pets, and that includes over-the-counter. Provide thorough instructions regarding various dosage forms of over-the-counter medications, and then how to mix powders and properly use transdermal patches, inhalers, ointments, whatever route. So a patient might be actually prescribed to, say, take Miralax, which is an over-the-counter product. For constipation. Make sure they understand how to mix it, and what they can mix it with. Miralax you can actually mix with just about everything, but like Metamucil, it's better if it's water or juice. You can't mix it in your coffee, that kind of thing. So those are the kinds of things that you guys are going to do. And the criteria for over-the-counter status, page 87, and it is box 7-1. It has to have the indication for use, so the patient has to be able to identify what it treats, and they have to be able to diagnose that in themselves, and they have to be able to monitor the effectiveness, and the benefits of correct usage must outweigh the risks. Safety profile, it must have a favorable adverse event profile, limited interaction with other drugs, low potential for abuse, and a high therapeutic index. So that therapeutic index, again, is that ratio of where it reached toxic levels versus the therapeutic levels. There has to be a big range between those two. And then last is practicality for over-the-counter use. So they have to be easy to use and easy to monitor. Okay, chapter 28. Any questions, guys, so far?
No, not for me.
Okay. And these are pretty straightforward. Sorry, I'm multitasking again, guys. I'm like constantly multitasking. Always. Okay, so chapter 28, know the adverse effects of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So that's the first group of, that would be on page 453. And adverse effects, it's like literally right there. Metabolic abnormalities, so it can cause acidosis, hypokalemia, drowsiness, anorexia, paresthesias, which is that numbness and tingling, urticaria, which is that rash or hives, photosensitivity, and melena, which is blood in the stool, which that one's a kind of like, oh my God, that's kind of a scary interaction. So those are the adverse effects that you want to be aware of. Patient teaching regarding furosemide. Loop diuretics. dosages. So that's probably going to be further back in the patient teaching section. Do, do, do. So things about the loop diuretics or about furosemide that you might want to teach the patient. Common drug interactions and common adverse effects. So you're looking at table 28-2 and 28-3. Those are things that you're going to want to teach. You're going to want to teach them to make sure that they take it at the same time every day. They want to make sure they know what they're taking it for, how to determine what, oh my Lord, their weight to determine how effective it is. So those are kind of some of the things that you're going to want to do when it comes to actually teaching the patient. Let me see if I can find some more. Paper cut. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, 453, or I was thinking more 454 and 455, tables 28-2 and 28-3. So you want to make sure they know what to look for. So adverse effects of what to look for, that it's efficacious, that it's working, and that kind of. Then you also need to know the mechanism of action for loop diuretics. That is literally on page 454, guys. So they act primarily along the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. They block chloride, and then secondarily, they also sodium reabsorption. They block sodium reabsorption. They are thought to activate renal prostaglandins, which dilates the blood vessels. It reduces preload and central venous pressures. And they're very good with rapid diuresis because of the rapid onset. So the big thing to know is that they act on the ascending loop of Henle, blocking chloride and sodium reabsorption. And again, that's on page 454. And then patient teaching regarding diuretic therapy. This is where I in the one part of the book, it goes over that. And now it totally doesn't even talk about it. We just went over there. So I would look kind of at the implementation section on page 461, where it talks about basically, teaching you would do making sure they're monitoring their blood pressure, their pulse, daily weights, signs and symptoms of adverse effects, making sure they continue to stay hydrated, even though they're not, even though they're trying to get fluid off. Very fine balance. When to call their provider. Signs of high and low potassium.
So diuretic therapy, like all of it, the osmotic ones,
Yeah, that's why I kind of went to page 461, that implementation section.
Okay.
Because it talks diabetic therapy might precipitate cardiac irregularities. So it talks about general diuretic use, as opposed to each specific individual one. Now, again, like loop diuretics and thiazides, you guys know can cause potassium depletion, but a potassium sparing diuretic might cause high potassium levels. So kind of knowing those things, but know what to look for and what to tell the patient to look for. I know that one's kind of vague, guys, but you know, I can't give you everything. Like could, but that wouldn't do any good. Oops. Man, I was literally almost right there. All right. We're ready for chapter 53. Well, whether or not you are, you are. No, just kidding. Just making sure you don't have any questions. There we go. Okay, indications for vitamins D and C. So, vitamin D indications, page 845, can be used for treating rickets, which is a vitamin D deficiency, osteoporosis, tetany, osteomalacia, which is softening of the bones, regulating calcium and phosphorus, dietary supplementation, osteodystrophy, hypercalcemia, or hypocalcemia, hypoparathyroidism, pseudohypoparathyroidism, hypophosphatemia. Most patients have low vitamin D levels. Yep, I'm not even going to say most patients. I'm going to say most people have low vitamin D levels. So, yeah, so look at the indications for vitamin D. Now, let's see, vitamin C. See, they did A, D, E, and K. What's important about A, D, E, and K? Do you guys remember? Do you guys know?
They're fat soluble.
Yes. So they get stored in your body as opposed to water soluble, which go right through you. So you can get toxicity from excessive amounts of water soluble, but it's very rare and very difficult. Whereas the fat soluble ones, because they're stored in your body, you can get a vitamin overdose, believe it or not. So vitamin C indications is on page 852. Treat diseases associated with vitamin C deficiency. Yay. Pregnancy, lactation, hyperthyroid, fever, stress, infection, trauma, burns, smoking, and the use of certain drugs like contraceptives. It can also be used to acidify urine. Other uses are undocumented. So it doesn't talk about it in here, and it won't be on the test, but hemoglobinemia, we've talked about that. So I had that patient that had to get IV vitamin C. Really interesting. I'm going to skip the second point real quick because we're in the vitamin Ks, and I want to talk to you about that. So known indications for vitamin K is on page 847. Mostly has to do with clotting. Infants don't absorb it, so they'll be given it prophylactically. Used with anticoagulants like Coumadin. It can reduce Coumadin or warfarin. So, and if you use vitamin K to reverse Coumadin, the patient will become unresponsive to warfarin for about a week after it's been given. Isn't that crazy? A week. It's a long time. Okay, patient teaching regarding calcium supplements. So I would look at page 854 most commonly. Or actually, if you look at page 858, at the very, very bottom on the left-hand side, it talks about various oral calcium products. I mean, literally like this next to last sentence. Instruct the patient to take oral dosage forms of calcium 1 to 3 hours after meals. Follow medication order carefully. IV, given IV, blah, 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 blah. Patients need to remain recumbent 15 minutes after infusion. So I guess one thing is just knowing that to take an oral dose 1 to 3 hours after meals is important. Also, you want to teach them about any potential adverse effects. So that would be, again, on page 854. Actually, there's a table, table 5313. It does your body system and what the adverse effects are. So like cardiovascular, you can have hemorrhage or rebound hypertension. GI, constipation, nausea, vomiting, flatulence. That's weird. Anyways, genitourinary, renal dysfunction, renal stones, renal failure. Calcium does cause renal stones, guys, kidney stones. So that's a big one. People who have too much calcium can develop kidney stones big time. And then metabolic, they can have hypercalcemia, so too much calcium, or metabolic alkalosis. And then, of course, what to look for. So I'd say definitely taking it before meals, and then also the kidney stones one. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. So chapter 55. Honestly, Mercy, I've like read it and then moved on. So what did I say? I don't know.
Before meal.
What does the book say?
It's before meals.
Okay. Whew. I was like, wait, what did I say? What did the book say? I don't know. Sorry, guys. I've got like my mind going 300 different miles. No, it's all right, Mercy. I'm sorry. I was just like, wait, let me go back. So
Before meals, because I typed after meals, but
let me tell you. I will tell you. Hang on. Wait. I will find it and I will quote it directly. Page 858. Instruct the patient to take oral dosage forms of calcium 1 to 3 hours after meals. So it is after meals. I misspoke, but yeah, after meals. That's what happens when I get tired, guys. And it's not you. It's not you. Okay, so chapter 55, adverse effects of nutritional supplements with enteral feeding. Okay. So we know that's through the GI tract. Enteral. Trying to see. Adverse effects. Okay, enteral. So we're looking at page 873. Most common adverse effects, GI intolerance, which shows up as diarrhea. Infants have allergies and digestive intolerance. So we've got, again, more diarrhea, dumping syndrome, aspiration pneumonia. So what is the difference between peripheral parenteral nutrition and central total parenteral nutrition?
peripheral goes into your
veins.
Your veins.
There
yeah.
you go.
Mm-hmm. And then the central goes through what?
Your mouth or nose? No.
No.
TPN. TPN goes through like a central line.
Yes. Yeah. So Peripheral and the central has to do with where they're parenteral, so it's all IV. So it's all intravenous. Peripheral means it's a peripheral IV line, guys. So it'll be like somewhere in an arm or your hand, could even be a foot. Whereas central total parenteral nutrition is going through like a central line that's going directly into like an artery. So that's the difference between the two. The actual physical difference. Now, other things that can be different is peripheral, you're not going to do long term. Okay, we're talking maybe a week. It's very temporary because it can cause phlebitis when given that way. And so a patient who doesn't need a lot of nutrition, maybe they have some oral intake, but they need a little bit more nutrition, and they need a little bit extra. Whereas the central total parenteral nutrition is anyone who needs supplementation more than 7 to 10 days. It's going through a central artery or vein. And it's someone who absolutely does not have any oral intake at all. So those are the difference. And then know the different types of enteral formulations. So box 55-1, page 873. So we've got the elemental formulations, the peptamen, vital HN. They have dipeptides, tripeptides. So they have peptides, crystalline amino acids. The polymeric formulations. Also look at the indications for each. Polymeric are like ensure longevity. Those are the most common ones you're really going to see. Modular formulations where they've got parts. So that's the way that modules have different modules of nutrition. So the carbohydrates, the fats, and the proteins. So they will have their single nutrient, whether it's a carbohydrate, the fat, or protein. And they can be added to a polymeric or a monomeric formulation to give more individualized nutrition. Then we have your amino acids, which are literally they're amino acids. And then they have the glucerna, which is there for people who have glucose issues or diabetes. So again, the elementals, they've got basically the elements, breakdown elements. They're used for malabsorption, partial bowel obstruction, irritable bowel, radiation enteritis, which is an inflammation of the lining of the GI tract due to radiation. A bowel fistula. A fistula is like an opening that goes from the bowel to the outside of the body. You can see those a lot in Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. And then short bowel syndrome for the elementals, that means someone has had some of their GI tract removed. So my mother-in-law has Crohn's disease, and she's had quite a bit of her bowel removed. I can't remember. I think it's 18 inches or it might be 18 feet. And had it reanastomosed or re-put back together. So she doesn't truly have short bowel syndrome, but she definitely has GI issues. We joke every Christmas that we're going to buy her a big thing of Charmin from Costco because she needs it. Polymeric, again, the Ensure, indicated for patients with fully functional GI tracts and very few specialized nutrient requirements. So, yep. So there you go. Box 55-1, page 873. So, and then the math questions, for the chapters 4, 5, and 6, guys, I highly recommend that you do the rapid practice problems. Even if you've done them already, do them again, because practice never hurts, and we know the answers are in there. Oops. Make sure you're using your units when you're answering questions. So yeah, review the rapid practice problems. If you run into issues, let me know. Make sure you know some of your do not use abbreviations. Most especially, I would say it's not really math related, but those will come up later. And then you can also do the final practice problems in each one. So. Anyone have any questions about those?
I'm good.
Does that include like the insulin syringes and stuff?
Yeah, you need to know your insulin syringes in that you need to be able to tell me either how many units or how many milliliters.
Okay.
So that would be in chapter 6, like page 204 and 205. Look at those pictures. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, Mercy, for this quiz.
So just because I know I missed this question, for the sliding scale one, it's a long-term or the long-acting, short-acting plus the bolus, correct?
Yes, if I'm asking for the total, I want literally the total.
Okay.
I want you literally to tell me the total. Okay. Between the okay. You know, if it's like, what's the total amount of insulin? Their blood sugar is this much. Here's their sliding scale, but they also get this and this. I want it. If it says total, I want to know all of the insulin that you're going to be giving them, whether you're going to mix it or not.
Are we talking about, like, for example, the problem where it was like they get this many units of this insulin and this many units? How many are you getting where you just add the two numbers? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that kind of problem. And then I think there's another one is like they get this much of this one, this much of this one, and then they have the sliding scale. Their blood sugar this morning was X. What's their total amount? So you get the first two that you already know, and then you have to look at the sliding scale and determine how many units of that one, and so the total units of insulin that they would be getting.
Okay, cool. Have a good day, Professor Trainer. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. All right, guys, if anything comes up, send me a message. I'm here. Thank you guys for attending. I really appreciate it. So when you have a question that's asking the total amount of insulin, so I say the patient needs 12 units of NPH and 10 units of Novolin, but then they also have a sliding scale. So their blood sugar is 206, and based on the sliding scale, they should get another 4 units of regular. So you've got the 12 units of the NPH. You've got I forget what I said. So let's say 10 units of Humalog. So 12 plus 10, that's 22. And they need 4 units of regular. So that would be a total of 26 units. So it's just based off the orders that you're given. The only thing that you would have to do is if you need to include a sliding scale amount, you need to be able to look at the sliding scale, and there's usually a range of blood sugar, and it tells you how many units for that range, each different range. Okay, good. You're welcome. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend.